move on. So another possible solution that was identified was more voluntary people doing more litter picks. One community litter pick group commented to us, when footfall increased at the start of lockdown, the volunteers started to increase litter picking and bin emptying from 1 to 2 to 3 times a week. They found this successful with no increased litter. Martin, that speaks to kind of a couple of your comments there. If there's a clean field, do people litter? Secondly, some of those responses about more litter picking also speak to another comment that you raised also, is can we tie this to incentives? So and the creation of deposit return schemes, allowing those who do pick it up or don't discard it in the first place to make money or tickets from returning litter. What's your views? And then we'll open it up to the panel. Well,
I think there are some interesting points there. I mean, recruiting people to litter pick isn't that easy. So to actually increase the number very significantly might be quite a challenge. There is always the argument that the last thing we want to do, and let me be, I'm speaking very personally here, not necessarily on behalf of Friends of Roundhay Park, by the way, but I'm conscious we mustn't be seen as taking jobs from people, and that matters to me. We have been accused of that, and I don't want to get into that. But I think there is the slight danger. You've just said that that doesn't appear to be happening in that case. But the more that we do, to some people, the more acceptable it is. Well, we can leave it behind because those volunteers come out and clean it. And I don't want to encourage that. I would actually like to make us all, although we're all, well, most of us are retired, I'd like to make our job redundant. I'd like to think we don't need to do litter picking. I suspect that's an ambition that will never be achieved. However, I think we need to look, as I said, at more things like recycling. The very fact that litter pickers could take the stuff and get the deposits and benefit themselves, I don't think that would sit well with our group. But I have to face the fact we live in it might be the biggest park in the country. However, it is situated in a very affluent part of Leeds, so that the sort of people we've got are not the sort of people that are needing the money and would probably feel uncomfortable to take any benefit from it. However, I can see other things that could come from that. Perhaps that money could be used for the benefit, not personally, but for the charity or for other charities. But it also possibly could be opened up to people who are rather more disadvantaged and could benefit from it. So I think there's things that may be worth thinking about there. But I would really, really like to look at ways of actually reducing the volume of this stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Martin. Over to you, Richard. Oh, you need to unmute yourself.
Come on.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Oh, you're muted again.
There, I'm in. Sorry, the number of times I've done that over the last few months is unbearable. Sorry about that. So just to clarify on the deposit return scheme, just so that we're clear, government it's in the Environment Bill, which is going through Parliament. The primary legislation to introduce a deposit return scheme is in that bill and is currently scheduled to come in by 2023. So if that timetable is adhered to, we will have a deposit return scheme in 2023 for drinks containers, plastic bottles, aluminium cans and glass bottles of all sizes. What we think that will mean, although the level of deposit has yet to be set, is the deposit will be set at around 20 pence, which is the deposit which has been set in Scotland, who are slightly ahead of us on this. They are legally now bound to introduce a scheme by 2022 with a flat rate deposit of 20p. I've been to Oslo to see the way that the Norway scheme operates. DRS schemes operate in 40 countries around the world. Lithuania have just introduced theirs a couple of years ago. You know, we're a bit behind the curve here. But what the evidence shows, if it's implemented well and designed well, it makes a massive difference. You know, it's 20 pence, it's your 20 pence you're getting back and redeeming. So there's no shame in returning the bottle. And actually, what you get is some really interesting innovations. Like in Copenhagen, they design park bins with hoops around the outside. So if you don't want to return somewhere to return the bottle, rather than throwing it in the bin where it'll probably go for incineration, you pop it in the hoop and somebody else can collect it and take it. You know, COVID-19 to one side, and we will be past COVID-19 at some point. So I just wanted to be clear on it. That is coming in, and that will make a massive difference. The other thing I think is we are always keen to advocate that litter picking is a massively positive contribution. We hear the things keeping people out of a job, but the reality is I think it's very powerful for people to be seen in a community caring for that community in a positive way.
I agree with that, absolutely, yeah.
Because it pushes back, you know, people think about the selfish behaviour of minority, but cared for places, research demonstrates cared for places tend to stay cleaner. To your point, Martin, I think you made earlier, cleaner places do stay clean. It's broken windows theory, if anybody's heard of that. If places look untidy and uncared for, people think it's okay to tacitly behave badly. If they look cared for and it looks like people's looking after it, people tend to behave better. And that's my feedback to that, to what Martin said, but yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come in there before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, just very briefly, just to build on what's been said, I think it is that, I think litter picking by local friends groups builds on that sense of local pride. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's one of those things that over time can change kind of people's behaviour, that we see that there are other people who care enough about this place to go out in their spare time to look after it. So I think it's clearly an important part of what needs to be done.
Thank you.